Hey, good afternoon, and I'm going to show you a little something here. There's some questions about how is this. I've talked to my sister about how this part of this lamp is done, and that's done, but since I haven't been able to show the whole process, step by step on video, but I've, carried people along from the beginning of this thing to where we are now. But nobody's seen how I'm doing what I'm doing. And this is just the way I do it. Other people do it a different way. But anyway, the way I've done it is I cut all of these pieces. And if those of you who have followed this video or this lamp build from the very beginning know that I started out with a pattern and cut all the pattern pieces and cut all the pieces of glass. They're right at 2,000 pieces, 1,945 pieces of glass. The idea all along in the beginning was to cut these pieces as close as possible to the pattern as I could get them. Theoretically, if every piece of glass was cut exactly as the pattern specified, and bear in mind that I'll remind you again, there are 5 sections to this lamp. Each section is the same. The design repeats itself 5 times. So anyway, in the early going with this thing, it'd be easy to look at the pattern and say if every piece of glass was cut exactly like the pattern, then this thing would go together with absolutely no problem at all. Every piece would just fit on this cartoon perfectly, because the cartoon, if those that have followed along have seen that the cartoon was also all over this whole lamp. That's where I knew where to put the pieces. So anyway, what I've done here over the last few days is I'm finished with all the foiling in the top of the lamp, and I won't go running all over the place with this camera because I've got this camera set up for you to follow how I decide what piece stays where it is, how I decide how much grinding to do to make it fit a certain way. So anyway, let me turn this timer off. There. Alright, so anyway, I'm all the way around to just I'll swing this thing around there. We get to there. We're most of the way around the lamp since I've done the top part here. We're just in this, you can't see my hands here, but we're in about an 18-inch section across here. There's a lot of glass here. I'm hoping to get this done in 3 days. Maybe that's possible. Okay, now I'm going to show you exactly how I figure out what I want to do. Everything that's on the lamp right now that has the copper wrapped around it is as perfectly placed as I can get it without the last little twitch per area that I'm going to solder in. So I've got most all the foiled glass where I want it. And so what I'll do right before I start the soldering, I'll look at an area of 3, 4, 5 square inches and move any adjustment of any kind I need at the last minute. But we're pretty much where we're going to be. So the idea then would be to get these pieces that are on here right now, and I took those off the light box and stuck 2 whole sections on this lamp at one time. I thought, well, I'll just go that direction, and that seemed to work out for me because it put a lot of work in front of me at one time, but I never did really concentrate on all of it as much as I did just an area that I was working in. And I figured out that for me, the best way to get this thing built and make it nice and uniform is to build it from the top down. In other words, as I've placed these pieces on the mold, I didn't want to start correcting it at the bottom and going up, because then I run out of places to hide. In other words, you can't go but get lost up in these branches if you're trying to push glass up. Theoretically, everything ought to fit the cartoon. Anyway, so where we are now is I'm just working across the top area here that has not been foiled and getting these pieces to fit without doing any grinding right now. Every now and then you can find 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that are kind of working together, and that's how you make decisions. Let's just do this one here. What I'm trying to do right now is get the separation between these pieces as uniform as I can get it. Well, I don't have to be crazy about it. There's a little notch right here that if I were to take that notch off, this piece of glass could go a little further up in here. and make a little bit better fit. So that's something we'd do. We're going to take that little notch off right there. I've got it, you can, I think, sort of, I don't know, when I was looking at this camera, I thought maybe that you could sort of see me standing over there on that grinder. Okay. Yeah, there you go. All right, now that looks pretty good on both sides of this glass, but right here it doesn't look good. So how can we fix that and do the least damage? So what we want to do right now is then take a look at the piece underneath that, because this affects this piece here. So let's pull this big white piece into a space, and I'm kind of trying to get a similar distance around all these pieces. It's going to be impossible to get exactly the same, but this is a conflict of some sort right here that we do need to work out. Let's see, how would we want to do that? Okay, we're going to take this little top notch right there off and see what that looks like. Sometimes this will be boring to some, if not most, but you know, this is a worthwhile piece of work. It's a worthwhile use of my time. All right, now we're getting closer here, but there's still a notch right on the bottom of this piece here that we need to. Now, we don't have to do this with every piece. You know, this isn't going to, if you had to, you know, fool around with every single one and not get a break here and there, that would get a little tiring. But let's see what we're doing here. That's actually looking pretty good, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to see if you can see where I'm at. Yeah, you can. That looks pretty good next to this piece of glass. That's decent. And this little rise, let's go push this up just a little bit right there. This cavity right through here looks pretty sharp. We're, of course, baned completely into this piece, so we're going to pull it down. And if we can, we got to pull some glass underneath it. See, so everything's kind of jammed into itself down in here. We'll have to make some, boy, we are needing some help right here. All right, so let's go. That piece, this piece we know we can live with, so let's just foil that. So I'm going to turn this thing down here. Look at this. I've got this set up so you can see what I'm doing here. All right, now I'm going to come down here, and I have a tendency to foil a little bit heavier on the left side. So what I'm going to do is turn this thing around and go the back side of this piece of foil there and see if I can straighten this out where I get this pretty close to the, can you see me down? Whoop, now we got to go this way. Okay, now I've got that foil wrapped around that glass, and what I'm going to try to do, sometimes you hit this just on the money and sometimes you don't, but this doesn't look too bad. So what I'm looking for is it needs to be sort of uniform around that glass. That's pretty good, not great. This side's pretty good. No, that's not bad. All right, so now let's turn this thing back up here, and I won't beat you up with too much of this because you really have to like to do this stuff, to sit here and do this for hours on end. Okay, there's that one, and that's sitting in a good spot. Looks real nice. Let me turn this around for you. There you go. Now, that space right there, I don't know whether, I think you're a little, let me back the camera out just a little bit and see if it would clear up just a little bit. I don't think that's super clear. I'm working right here. Yeah, we'll try that. Yeah, that's working. All right, anyway. So what's going on here? This looks real good up in here and down here. That's real good there, but we've got all kinds of problems on the back end of it. Let's see. So what I'm doing here, so you just kind of moving pieces down, and there'll be a spot in here where you may catch up. You know, you won't have to do as much grinding. I have been pretty lucky up until here over the last hour or so. I was doing real good. Let's go back over. So we worked over there for a little bit. That doesn't look like an area that I want to dive right into. Here's some pretty rough going right in here. So let's go back over here and go down here. All right. And I'm going to lower this down, and then I won't. Certainly a person has the option to just quit watching this stuff, but now I'm fascinated by it. All right, we're down here, and this is going to give us sometimes you need a stretch of something that doesn't work you to death. Then you get into a momentum, and then I'll dive back up into that hard stuff here a little bit later. But I've come down here to take a little break, and what I mean by that is you work on some glass that's not going to be hard to work on. Okay, now what we're doing was just fitting some glass here on the bottom and seeing how that works in respect to these other pieces. And let's see, we don't want to get too carried away here because we can find the top of this, but if you get over in here start messing around, you can get yourself jammed up going this direction. So let's just stay right here. And I like I don't know, if I had that to do over again, I might saw that thing down a little bit. Let's see if we can get some space this direction. See, and that knocks us out here, so this is just about kind of a balance, and you get an area that's not working perfect for you. You try to work it around a little bit where you can have to do the least amount of grinding. I'm not sure about this. That doesn't, well, I don't know. Maybe that's the right place for that. This needs to turn this direction. Right there. That's better. All right. Something's just not right here. All right, let's go there. Now that I can, when I find a piece that works, I'd go ahead and, if I didn't have this camera watching me and stuff like that, well, I'll turn it. We'll do it anyway. I was going to say, I don't want that to interrupt. I'm going to have to turn it down so you can see what I'm doing. I got to get some foil over here again. Okay, what we're going to try to do again is we want a nice uniform if we can get it, and some of these pieces are so weird shape. Now this one's not too bad. All right. Now you kind of think about this. You gotta, way out down here. Whoop, wrong direction. There you go. I'm going to put it up here where you can see what I'm doing. You know, a couple of thousand times, man, they're so small your hands have trouble grabbing hold of them. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to lay it down. I've got a flat side on this little tool here. Just rub that across it. Okay, now that burnished that copper down on that side. And then this side. There's one little spot right here. I think I've just about got it. There it is. All right. That's the back side. Let's turn you back right here. All right, we're going to put that in there and see what that looks like. Oh, yeah. There you go. Now that's real good. And there's some stuff working right here. This is working. This needs just a little work. but I can't mess with that because it's got too much glass up on top of it. So we could work on everything down to here and make that work. This is starting to look a little better. I think I still need to go that direction, because if I go that direction I can close this hole up, and to get that direction I need to grind off just a little bit of this right here. So let's do that. Oh, every time you do that, you don't want to get too much, just a little. Now, I didn't take very much. Let's see what this looks like. To the 2 people that are left watching this. Oh, this is stuff that's just old world with a grinder, but they didn't have a grinder. So I've got it made compared to them. This is getting real close. In fact, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about right there. I think I need just to take just a swipe across here, make that just a little rounder right here to fit into this concave shape there. So just a little bit. We're pretty light on that. I didn't know I didn't need much. Where does this thing go? There it is. All right. Well, that's still not right. I didn't get enough off this end right here. All right, so let's go this way. You know, it's that deal, you have to pay attention because you can't put the glass back on it. You can go back and grind it 2 or 3 different times. You sure can't put it back on there. So it's better to... I still don't have that right. Alright, we're going to get with it this time. I'm taking that... Fool around. I've not had to. I think I've had to cut 1 or 2 pieces of glass over again on this whole piece. So I'm going to be on this little tutorial here doing it again. Oh, that's better. But it's made this. I still don't like that. Well, now I'm getting closer. All right. It's not perfect, but it might be. I'm trying to move this one and see if I can get the side of this to look right. All right. Well, I think I need to take just a hair off right there. And you just keep doing this. Pardon me. Get some water. You just keep doing this until you get these things to look as close to, you know, they're not going to be perfect, but you want them to work in an area, getting them closer to, you know, being a nice fit. That's looking pretty good. I need to close this up just a little bit. I think that's ready to go. So what we would do here is come back and foil this. Right there. All right. Pulling this this is 3/16 foil, by the way. 3/16 of an inch in width. And what I'm doing, I'm trying to get that glass right on that piece of foil right in the middle. And then go around it. I'm just... Now, you know, this is an easy piece. Maybe we're going to have... I don't think we have a hard one. Yeah? There's one up here. The next one is going to be a little more difficult because it's got this real deep real deep cut in it. Okay, let me turn this back so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm, with my fingers again, burnishing that copper over that glass. And one thing that can get real dicey here is that so much of this glass varies in thickness a little. Not a lot, but a little. So, you know, you get a decent fit. Now, I don't know whether you can see this or not, but where the foil has overlapped there, you know, come back around, my little joint is just off enough that there's a tiny little tail. I'm putting my visors on here because I'm going to find that. Yeah, there it is. There was a tiny little tail there. Probably never be seen. You should probably be able to solder over that. However, I just take them off. And let's go back up here. And just put this piece in. So let's straighten that out. You see, we had to do some grinding. And I about halfway think I could do a little more grinding, but I think, you know, I'm not going to mess with that. I think that's looking pretty good. So let's just, now this will be the most difficult one. And the reason it'll be the most difficult there you go, is this real deep concave cut there. And that was not really that bad. So all we're going to do now, see if you can see me, yep, is I always put the inside to my left. It seems that I will always kind of lightly lean the foiling for some reason to this right side. And so that way I want that, if I'm going to lean the foil a direction, you know, extra, I want to lean it on the outside of the lamp. You know, make that line a little more uniform. And so now we're coming to the little thing, little cave back in there. So I'll take my little tool here and we're going to try, see, we're trying to aim for the center of the, and put a little pressure on it so that adhesive, there's an adhesive. Let me cut this. There's an adhesive. Where you can see this, yeah. There's an adhesive on this foil on one side of it, obviously. So anyway, I've got to get this where you guys can see this. Yeah. Anyway, so there's that. Let's get it down where you can see it. There's that area that will break out sometimes going around that curve. So I'm real gentle. And this is the back of it. So now see, there's a big lip of foil going that direction. So we're going to come back over here and try to pull it back. There you go. Okay. Now that came out pretty good. Okay, now all we have to do, get this where you can see it. Get that flat stick on that one. See, it's round here. I've got it flattened right there. It's just an oak dowel. Okay. And there I am gently massaging that inner cut there. This is the back. No, this is the back right here. Sorry about that. This is the back. I flipped it over, and we're going to cut that little tail. I'll show you that. I bet you can see it this time. There's a, that's not that big. Anyway, there it is right there. There's a little bit of that copper tape out of alignment there as I turned back and went around that curve. So you just gently pull that off with an X-Acto knife. Whoa, there it is. Okay, now we're going to go over here and put this back on. And see, you just do this over and over and over. And I just don't pay any attention sometimes to the enormity of how much of this stuff is left, because I'm at a spot now where the enormity's gone. I've just about whipped this thing. I'm not there yet, but I'm a lot closer than I was. Okay, now what we're doing right now, we're just lining those up, and I'm looking at them, and since this is already cast in stone now, say this is where we want it, then the decision's made now. If you want to alter any of this, go ahead, because you're really getting into a nice looking zone here of this glass working as a mosaic, if you will, because I'm going to solder it all together, but it's pretty close. Okay, so what do you want to do? Well, since we know that's going to work out, why don't I take you somewhere that's not working, and then I'll let you go. Let's see. Something that's close by that's not working. See, we could, because this area up here is done, we could start here and go down that way. No penalty, because this gives us a way out. We can continue to jockey these pieces around, grind some of them, and work our way down this thing, making the distance between them as uniform as comfortable and has a rhythm to it. And so what that would be is, it looks like we can fiddle with anything here on down. I'll show you that. Let me see if I can turn this camera. We're right here, close to the edge. See, so now that's several hours of work right here, probably. But let's see what we need to do. And I'll show you this one more time. All right. We could pick any area that's right up high here. So why don't we take, I'm going to turn this around so you can see it. All right. Let's go here, because we're safe here. Here, I wouldn't go here because we don't know what's going to happen above that. Although there is an area that looks like right here. Oh boy, that's nearly in the water there, boy. See, I'm moving this around. This is getting pretty close to foil in here. Well, now here's where we were talking about starting right here and going down. We may want to change our mind and start here, because that would help us if we were to work this out and this out. That would get these two other pieces into the program. See, here's one that needs to be ground off already right there. So here's an area right here that I'm comfortable working in. In fact, we could foil that piece, and sometimes this is how I do it. I take what I can get. So I've discovered that I could foil this one and this one, and then I can make some decisions about this connection right here against over here. Now here, and we need to look at this. Okay, I know this needs a little bit of shaping right here. There's some glass that's got to come off here. I won't bore you with any more of this. This is just how it's done. And then this thing doesn't fit at all. So I got to figure out, well, maybe I need to come up here and increase the size of this cavity here. That looks like a better way to go than to shrink this thing. So I'll look at the cartoon. The cartoon's right underneath there. I can see it. But the cartoon's, just helping me figure out where I want to put these. But there's some work that needs to be done right here. But that would open up a pretty big area. Anyway, that's how it's done. I appreciate the attention, and let's look around this thing. I've got this mounted down underneath here where it goes around pretty good for me. Yeah, this long way around this thing. I'm turning it up. We're just going to go all the way back to where we were. Look how far it is around here. This is a big lamp. Look at this thing. We're still going around this thing. Now we're about to come back to where we're working. Right there. And here is that real cool area that's worked out so well. So we'll work in this area here the rest of this afternoon and try to work this out coming down this way. And then I won't have anything but about 14, 15 inches across there. Quite a bit of work. I think there's 2 days, maybe 3 days left here. Oh, yeah, I bet you there's 3 days. Well, anyway, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, be sure and ask me. And when we start soldering, I'll be back again when we figure out how we want to start soldering this thing and mounting it up on doing what we're going to do. And I'll show you how I do that. I've got this camera set up right now, so you'll be able to see me solder real well. Well, thank you. Bye now.